On December 14, 2023, in rural Gehring, Nebraska, I drove west after my evening shift and reached my parents' empty farmhouse just before 9 because they were away on a cruise, and I had promised to feed the cat and watch the place for one night, and snow dusted the fields, but the sky stayed clear. So I carried groceries inside, clicked on the porch light, and settled at the kitchen table with hot cocoa while the wind rattled the loose storm window above the sink. The house felt safe, yet half an hour later I felt a vibration in my back pocket, checked my phone, and saw a single text from an unknown number that read, "Someone is outside" in plain lowercase letters, and the sender showed only a blank profile icon, no number string, which made me assume spam, though a chill still crawled my arms because no one ever had trouble finding service names here. I dismissed the text, stroked the cat, turned on the television in the living room, and fought drowsiness. But at 10:17 p.m., the same vibration came. Same unknown sender, new note saying he is under the yard light, go look. So I muted my phone, grabbed the flashlight, and stepped onto the back porch where a single halogen lamp perched on a tall post lit a circle of snow near the corn stubble that still stood cut short after harvest. And inside that pale cone, nothing moved except flakes blowing sideways like ash. So I sighed relief and went back in, locking the deadbolt out of habit. Minutes later, a dull clank echoed from the metal grain bin beyond the barn, one sharp clang, then silence, and I remembered the wind could slam the loose hatch, so I ignored it and returned to scrolling social feeds. But the cat arched its back, eyes locked on the patio slider leading to the dark, and its tail puffed huge. I lifted the remote to turn up volume, yet the screen cut to static and the porch motion light blazed through the slider, throwing my own reflection against glass. And behind that faint ghost image I saw a taller shadow, still and straight, positioned just beyond the glow line, shape smooth as a mannequin. My breath caught. I stood, flicked the inside light, and the porch light snapped off, leaving only darkness where the shadow had been. Yet fresh prints dotted the snow that led from the corn rows to the yard light, then vanished right where the bulb glow ended. I called 911, explained I might have a trespasser. Dispatcher said deputies would need 30 minutes due to ice. Told me to stay inside, so I armed the old hunting rifle my dad kept in the hall safe, though I hated guns, chambered no round but felt braver, and waited 10 minutes. Later my phone vibrated again. Message read, "You locked me out," and added a winking emoji, which felt wrong, childish, like teasing. I turned every downstairs light on and walked the perimeter with the rifle barrel down, heart banging, then finally climbed to the upstairs guest room to watch the driveway from height, but snow began falling harder, curtain of white hiding everything beyond 20 yards. Power flickered once, twice, then held. I paced, whispered plans to myself, and realized each time floorboard creaked, another faint creak echoed from below. A second later, like someone matched my steps, I stomped twice in place. Two soft echoes answered, hair lifted on my neck. I eased the rifle to shoulder and descended each stair slowly, cheeks burning from adrenaline. At the foot of the stairs, the front door knob twitched, not turning fully, just rattling against the latch. 3 quick taps like code wind did not do that. I backed into kitchen, eyes on hallway. Glass in the mudroom shattered with a crisp pop. Cold air rushed. A boot scraped tile. I raised the rifle, yelled that police were coming, though I still avoided quotes. My voice cracked and silence followed, except the cat yowling upstairs. My finger hovered near trigger guard, though chamber empty. I could not fire. The unknown number buzzed again. New text reading, "I don't need doors." And seconds later, the porch light flared even though motion sensor pointed outward. I turned and faced the slider, and my reflection stared back. But something else overlapped it. A shadow, exactly my height, standing where a person would if pressed against outside glass. Yet no footprints marked snow on the porch deck, only bare boards. Breath fogged the interior pane, but a second fog bloom appeared beside mine, identical in sync, as though a copy of me breathed on the far side. I stepped back. Shadow remained. Its arms rose, though mine hung still. It pressed a palm and 5 smudged prints formed on the outside, black against frost. The prints spread like ink, shaping letters across glass, spelling, "Let me in." I bolted to breaker box in laundry room, killed power to entire house, plunging everything into dark, except the phone screen. The text thread now showed earlier messages deleted one by one as if reverse typing. Last message appeared, reading, "Look behind you." I spun flashlight beam toward hallway and caught the cat crouched low, eyes reflecting, but behind it the stairwell door stood wide though I had closed it, and on the bottom step lay fresh snow melting into a footprint, bare, no shoe tread, toes long, the print led upward. Deputies arrived at 11:03, lights flashing, knocked, I unlocked, told story in rush. They searched every room, no broken glass found, no porch prints, mudroom pane intact, yet the rifle safe stood open. Though code remained set, officers left with quiet warnings about stress and staying armed. When silence returned, I slumped at table. Phone buzzed last time from unknown sender. Message blank except attached photo shot from upstairs hallway, looking down at me through banister rails, time stamped 5 minutes prior, while police walked beside me in the photo. The dark shape crouched just outside frame, hand resting on rail, and where its fingertips touched wood, they left faint wet marks shaped like inverted snowflakes. I deleted the image, but battery icon drained to 0 instantly. Phone died. I still house sit sometimes, always feed the cat, but after dusk I leave every door unlocked because I now know locks do not matter when something waits just outside the glow, copying breath, erasing footprints, sending warnings through cold glass until the moment I finally open the door and step into the snow beside my own silent shadow. On May 9, 2022, in St. Augustine, Florida, I moved into a ground floor studio that faced a narrow courtyard shared by 3 other small apartments. Rent was cheap because the place sat half empty. Only one neighbor, an older vet named Mr. Olson, lived across the way. The landlord said the other 2 units were between tenants. I did not care. I worked night shift at a hotel desk downtown and needed a bed and Wi-Fi. First evening, I set up a floor fan by the sliding window to pull cool air while I slept. At 3 p.m., I crawled under a thin sheet and crashed hard. Twilight woke me. The fan hummed. Through the mesh screen, I heard a soft whistle. 3 notes. Pause. 3 notes again. Slow. Drifting. It sounded like a lullaby sung out of tune. I figured it was Mr. Olson feeding stray cats. I shut the glass, slid the bar lock, and left for work. Next morning at 6 a.m., I parked and crossed the courtyard. Damp air pressed heavy. No birds sang. From Mr. Olson's unit, a small wind chime tinkled. The tune matched the whistle I had heard, but reversed. I shrugged and went inside, ready to sleep. Before lying down, I checked my phone's ring camera pointed at the slider. Nothing recorded. I slept. Day 3, the whistle returned. Same hour, near sunset. This time the sound sat closer, like the source stood right outside the screen. I lifted the blind a half inch. The courtyard looked empty except for Mr. Olson's chime turning slow. I called out a greeting. Whistle stopped. Day 4 rain poured all afternoon. I dozed under thick gray light. Around 5, the whistle crept through thunder. 3 notes. Pause. 3 notes. Slow and steady, never shifting pitch. I slid the blind. Rain streaked the glass. No person. Yet in the middle of the courtyard, a puddle rippled in a perfect circle like something invisible stood there. I felt a twist in my gut. I recorded a voice memo describing the moment so I wouldn't chalk it up to sleep fog later. That evening before work, I visited Mr. Olson. He opened the door in slippers, TV glow behind him. I asked if he whistled to cats. His face tightened. "Haven't stepped outside in days," he said. He leaned closer. "If you hear that tune, close your curtains. My wife used to say it means the thing wants in." He shut the door. Driving to the hotel, I kept replaying his words. Old superstition, I told myself. Still, I left the bedroom blind down all the way and locked the slider. Day 5, a memo from management hit my inbox. Construction crew will access courtyard tomorrow to repair gutter. That eased my nerves. Activity outside would scare off any creeper. At 3:30 p.m., I turned off phone alarms and drifted. At 4:10, the whistle slid under the fan noise. 3 notes. Pause. 3 notes. It sounded patient, even playful. I stayed still, eyes on ceiling. The tune repeated 12 times. On the 13th pass, a second whistle joined. Same notes, but higher. 2 sources now. They circled each other, weaving harmony. I bolted upright, heart knocking. My ring alert chimed. Motion detected. Back window. I opened the live view. The camera showed static, then cleared. Frame focused on the courtyard. 2 dark shapes stood side by side near the gutter pipe. Not silhouettes of people, more like tall smudges, edges fading, no limbs, their tops tilted as if listening. The whistle flowed, but the figures never moved. I hit record. The app froze, crashed. I grabbed hoodie, stepped to the living room, dialed 911 and whispered trespass. I raised one slat of the front blinds. Courtyard empty again, no rain, no puddles. Yet the whistle continued, now muffled, like under the ground. Police arrived 8 minutes later. They searched. Found no one. They suggested random kids, maybe phone speaker pranks. I nodded, embarrassed, but asked if we could view Mr. Olson's camera. He had none. Officers left. The repair crew came next morning. They hammered, drilled. I stayed awake, felt safer with noise. One worker knocked my door at noon. He held a handful of small white sticks. Found these jammed in the gutter. They were carved bird whistles, cheap plastic, hollow, all cut in half so they could not make sound. He shrugged and tossed them in dumpster. Sunset neared. I dreaded sleep. I set the fan to maximum, earplugs in, pillow overhead. Doze slipped in. At some hour, the bed shook once, jarring. The whistle burst loud inside the room, not outside. I ripped out plugs. 3 notes echoed from the closet. Pause. 3 notes under the bed. Objects knocked inside the dresser like knuckles rapping wood. I stumbled to the light switch. Bulb flicked, then died. Phone flashlight on, I swept the small space. No intruder, yet thin, wet footprints dotted the laminate, leading from window to closet. They smelled of mold. I stuffed clothes in bag, ready to crash at a motel. Passing Mr. Olson's door, I heard the same lullaby, but gentle, hummed by him. I knocked. He opened, eyes shining with fear. He motioned me in. On his coffee table lay an old cassette deck playing a recording of the whistle. He said keeping it busy with its own voice sometimes worked. He clicked stop. Silence flooded. Floorboard behind me creaked. Mr. Olson hissed, "Don't look at windows." Too late. In the kitchen glass, I saw the courtyard. A black smear pressed against his pane, stretching tall, neck craned, head shape wrong. It pulsed with each breath of the whistle coming from nowhere now. He shoved the tape into my hands. "Play it in your place, loud. Leave before dawn. If it copies your breath, you're marked." I ran. Back inside, I played the tape on loop, volume high. Through the wine, I packed essentials. At 4:48 a.m., the cassette jammed, warbled, then sped up, the tune rising to a screech. The tape ripped. Outside, every porch light blew at once. The slider glass bowed inward as if pushed by wind, though the night was still. Tiny cracks webbed across the pane, forming 3 repeated notes like musical staff lines. I fled to my car. As I reversed, I saw Mr. Olson's unit dark, door ajar. Thin humming floated from the trees, moving deeper into town. I live now on a 10th floor condo facing traffic noise I cannot shut off. Some nights my phone plays an audio notification on its own. 3 notes. Pause. 3 notes. Always soft, always patient, waiting for me to forget and open a window wide enough to let the tune step inside. Chapter 3. On October 28, 2021 in downtown Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I was staying in my brother's new apartment while he traveled for work because he wanted someone to watch his cat and water the plants. and I needed a quiet place to finish grad papers, so I moved into Unit 904 of the Riverlight Tower, a glass building that faced the dark water of the Menominee Canal. I liked the height. The balcony looked west over empty warehouses. No neighbors on either side yet, because construction still wrapped their floors in plastic. That first night I unpacked, fed the cat, and settled at the kitchen counter to type. Wind howled around the corners, but traffic below hummed steady. Just before midnight, a light knock tapped the big sliding door that opened to the balcony. 3 soft raps. I thought loose trim had shaken. I ignored it. At 12:07 a.m., the knock came again, louder. 3 raps, then 1 slower thud. I walked over, pulled the vertical blind. The balcony was empty. The air outside hung calm. No rain. I slid the panel back in place and blamed pipe expansion. Next evening, I studied until 11. The cat dozed on the couch. My phone buzzed with a security push. The building's lobby cam showed no one, just the night porter sweeping. I locked the door anyway. At 11:58, the balcony glass sounded 2 crisp knocks. I jumped, phone flashlight ready, stepped close, cupped hands to cut glare. A face looked back not 2 inches away. Pale, wide eyes. I gasped and stumbled. The face vanished as if yanked down. I slid the door open a crack, heart pounding, called out. No answer. I leaned forward. The concrete floor was bare, rail secure. I checked the street 9 floors below. No scaffolding, no window wash rig, too high for a prank. I shut and latched the lock. I hardly slept. Morning sun felt safe, so I inspected the outside of the glass. A faint smear in the shape of a forehead marked the center. I wiped it with glass cleaner. The cat sniffed the rail and hissed at nothing. I told myself a reflection tricked me. Day 3. I met the night porter in the elevator. Elderly man named Keith. He eyed my floor number and said I was first tenant up there. He joked the wind could play tricks. I laughed thinly. That night I placed my laptop on the coffee table, blinds open, balcony dark. I turned every interior light off except a small lamp by the couch so the glass reflected less. I sat and watched while typing. At 11:46 the cat's ears twitched. It stared at the slider. I muted keys and listened. Nothing. Then a long scrape, metal on metal, sounded along the rail outside. It stopped below the handle. 2 soft knocks followed. A breath fog appeared on the glass, round, right at face height. My own breath came short. I whispered hello. The fog circle pulsed once, as if whoever breathed heard me. I grabbed my phone, snapped a picture, but flash bounced and showed only my reflection and the living room lamp. When the light faded, the fog circle was gone. I could not work, so I moved to the bedroom, shut the door. At 2 a.m., a single knock echoed on my window there. This window faced north, a sheer drop with no balcony ledge. I did not open the curtain. Morning of day 4, I called building maintenance. They said window washers were scheduled next week. Rig parked on roof unused. They offered to send security for a check. The guard found no footprints on dust of unfinished neighboring balconies. I believed him, but still felt watched. That sunset heavy fog rolled off the water. Streetlights glowed orange. I kept blinds closed, headphones in, music loud. At 11:30, the cat yowled like it was stepped on. I ripped headphones off. Something slammed the slider 3 times, each hit harder. Glass quivered. I shouted that I called police, though I had not. The banging stopped. I dialed 911. Officers would arrive in 10 minutes. While waiting, a light tick tapped the front door peephole, like a fingernail tapping wood. I walked down the hall, adrenaline shaking knees, looked through. Only empty corridor. But the peephole lens showed faint condensation, as if someone warm had leaned close. Police arrived, searched apartment, balcony, roof. Nothing. They advised me to stay elsewhere. I agreed, packed fast, yet as I zipped bag, phone buzzed unknown text, "You forgot the cat." I spun. Cat sat by slider, staring outside. The fogged circle was back, lower now at animal height. The cat hissed, arched, retreated. I crated the cat, left lights on, locked door, and stayed at a friend's. 2 days later, my brother returned. He laughed at my wild story until he saw the balcony glass. 2 sets of handprints pressed into the surface, one adult, one child, facing inward. Each finger ended in a long scratch down the pane, as though nails dragged while sliding away. He called a glazier to replace the door. The glazier found something else. On the outside rail, a thick steel wire looped and knotted. A climbing ascender hung from it, rated for heavy load. The rope it once hooked was cut clean. Police traced the gear model to a brand used by a window wash company that went bankrupt after an accident 3 months earlier. Their worker had fallen from the 12th floor of this same tower during final cleanup. He died instantly. Security footage lost him in fog before impact. Harness found, snapped. Reports claimed he was washing the north-face windows alone after hours, against protocol, because he said he saw a child handprint he needed to remove before the new tenants arrived. My brother got rid of the unit fast. I still keep the cat. Sometimes at night, she sits by my patio door in a different city, watching the dark yard, tail flicking. Last week I woke to faint metal scraping on my balcony rail. I live on the 4th floor now, I told myself, raccoon. In morning light, the glass showed one new smudge of a small hand, about the size of a child, right beside a larger cloudy oval, like a face pressed close, waiting for someone to open up and ask who is outside this time. Someone outside the glass, a tune in the dark, a face 9 floors high. Remember, the safest door is the one you never open. If these true, someone's outside horrors kept you peering over your shoulder, like, share, subscribe, and smash the bell icon so you're ready when the next knock comes.